I want to talk about the 4 types of interpersonal space. The way that you and I think about space and the gathering of people and the way that people relate to each other, I believe has a direct impact on our ability to see God work in people's lives and to see the changed lives that we desire. For kingdom impact and discipleship results, we need to use this filter to help us both diagnose how people are relating to each other, as well as think through the ways that we gather people. And I think that this particular filter is especially helpful during these COVID times when we're being forced to have smaller gatherings, especially for those larger churches where everybody can't gather together on Sunday. So let me just talk about the 4 spaces, and then I want to make an application to the context that you and myself just might be in, whether it's working with churches in transition or overseeing churches or working in a congregation as a leader. I think this can help you think about the way that people relate and the way that we work with people. So the 4 spaces simply go like this. We see this in Jesus' ministry, which is what I want to use to illustrate this. So there is this larger space called public space. That's where you have 50 or more people. These numbers aren't necessarily scientific, but they're the ones that the way that I frame it and as I understand it. And this would be in Jesus' ministry where he was out teaching. It's often in the public space where teaching happens. It's there that he did healing and miracles and feeding of the 5,000 and so on. So public space is where you have 50 or more people, and certain activities definitely lend themselves to that, experiences that people share together and so on. The social space is the slightly smaller group of people, between 20 to 50 people. In Jesus' ministry, we would see this, for example, in Matthew's house, where a lot of people gathered for a feast. And in this space, there's a little more interaction. People are getting to know each other. It's definitely the initial steps to building stronger friendships. It's that place where you meet people, make first impressions, and you're able to interact socially with people. The personal space is that slightly smaller group where there's deeper friendships starting to form. We see Jesus going up on the mountain all night, praying and coming down and selecting those 12 that were to be with him, his traveling companions. And they spent a great deal of their time in this personal space, hearing each other. That's where he challenged them and invited them into relationship. It was definitely the core of the disciple-making process that he followed with his followers. But then there's one more space. It's the intimate space. That's that super small group, 2 to 3 people, where Jesus had that group. He had Peter, James, and John that he spent even more time with and was even more intimate with. And they had that real special relationship. So these 4 spaces are definitely spaces that we see in ministry. And I really have come to believe that all 4 of these have a tremendous amount of value for different reasons. Now, here's the point that I want to make. And I've been in a church community for the last several years. And the last few years, we've been really continuing to move towards creating a discipleship culture. And we've been using this filter to think about our ministry and to frame the way that we gather people. And one thing that we've done this year, which I think because of COVID, we've basically sped up the process to take the Sunday gathering, this public event, which definitely was central in our congregation and is central in most churches. And because of COVID, we've actually started messing with the Sunday morning. And we're creating some other places, in particular, social and personal space on Sunday morning to gather people in smaller groupings for different purposes and different reasons. So I just want to present this filter to you, encourage you to do some more reading, some more research, but I want to leave you with a couple of questions as you kind of wrestle with this in light of your situation. And I think I present this partly because of the disturbance that losing the ability to have this public gathering is having on churches when too much emphasis has been put on that particular space. So that's why this is an opportunity, that because we can't do so much and do, make it all about Sunday morning if we want to. We can't, even if we wanted to. It creates an opportunity to create some other spaces and places where people are gathering and ultimately are being impacted and made as disciples, become more like Jesus. So here's two questions I want to leave with you as you consider this filter and these spaces and what it's saying to you. First question is, how well are these four spaces represented in your context? So this is the diagnostic question, and you can use this filter as a diagnostic. So how well are these four spaces represented in your context? The second question is more about a take action, and what do we do about this question? What changes might be needed to support greater engagement and ultimately change lives based on what you learn from this and what you see and learn from this as you reflect on Jesus' ministry and on the significance of having variety and diversity in the way that we gather people. So I want to leave that with you. It's a seed idea. It's a way to think about helping people. It's a way to think about our ministries, whether churches are in transition or dealing with the transition of the pandemic. Wherever a church is at, I believe that this particular filter might lead to a conversation that could be helpful in adjusting, making changes so that we are even more effective in our impact in people's lives. Go ahead and leave a comment. Love to hear from you, and I hope you find this helpful. Have a great day.